got, okay, this is right here, what I read.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
We organized this. That's what it was. So do you want to
Well, I am working with a large group of 10th graders, and one of the projects we had access to was an SREB project when the levee breaks. We wanted to get them thinking, what would happen if Beaufort Dam broke? Pretty much based around Katrina and the levees breaking at that time and the disastrous flooding and pollution that occurred. It's always great when a project starts off with a bang and ends with a bang, the motivation factors. So we realized that most kids had never been to the Atlanta Botanical Gardens.
We just looked at all the plants and different species they have there, which are vulnerable to flooding. So after we assessed what plants would get affected, we went to the school and we started our official launch of the project.
We'll take it.
They told us about what areas would be more prone to flooding, so we kind of got an idea that our next project was going to be based on water and like kind of how to mitigate the effects of flooding. We were asked to look at different things that we were interested in.
Now we've pretty much evolved that concept so that way we can solve problems.
Hypothetical situations that they give us almost always have avenues to tie into our core classes. If a dam breaks, there's going to be, universal themes and effects that we're going to see that we can observe throughout the region. That's really the aim of this project.
So we saw that as an opportunity to integrate with our science and our language arts and our social studies, using the core of the elective, but using those subjects. For example, our social studies has to do maps and mapping, and biology saw a great opportunity for ecology and environment. Language arts has a series of skill sets, and they had no problem jumping on board. So we took this, but then we differentiated it because we want to give kids that choice. So what do you want to do dealing with terrain and water, but still adjusting the effects of pollution, civic results, ramifications? Today's about 2/3 through a project. So now it's time to get out of that peer group and you can get some other feedback. So today we had a grad student from Georgia Tech, a professional in civil engineering, and 2 other administrators from our system to hear the pitch. Give me 2 minutes, what do you got for your pitch? Give me the main elements. When me as a teacher, I'm looking for mine, and our other teachers looking for their core content, but really the outside people and their opinions are really the practice for the kids to find that flaw, to stumble a bit in their presentation for them to discover. So the other kids are seeing this presentation too, and they're hearing the feedback from one group. And you can actually see that almost the next project presentation, they heard that and they're throwing that in there.
I'm excited to hear about the feedback because doing a bill, it's a really different idea. A lot of other group members are doing something more tangible or more digital, so I want to see how they feel about this idea.
The feedback is really important and we're excited to get that because we're doing something unique. So reception for these kind of projects and this kind of scenario is really important for us to figure out, okay, how are we doing? What's our progress? And it's very valuable information that we can get from presentation. I'm really looking forward to it.
Just seeing your peers go through this is a great lesson in itself. Not just for the kid getting the feedback, but the kids hearing the other kids' feedback.
So for our project, we made a VR simulation because we are passionate about VR and how it affects society now, and we wanted to incorporate our new dam design to be more environmentally friendly.
Our spin on it was a little bit more political than others who did more engineering-based projects, but I wanted to make this more political because there's something called the Tri-State Water Wars, and there isn't any actual solution to it yet. So I was hoping to make a bill that would be focused on how to at least conserve some water to help mitigate the effects of the Tri-State Water Wars.
So the first part was really to research an area that we're really interested in. So for us, it was Canada, Winnipeg. It has bad flooding and really bad pollution there as well. We basically looked at how we can engineer a solution to help fix that.
We should probably start off by presenting, talking about who we are and introducing ourselves, and then move on, talking about why we chose the solution, what our solution is, and then use our demonstration.
I mean, honestly, I don't really know. I just know that we should show off the virtual reality, seeing as how we worked really hard on it.
And how exactly are we going to present who is going to wear the VR? Are we going to let one of the judges, or?
I mean, if they want to. If not, one of us could.
You just need to remember not to read off the script word for word too much. And just,
Yeah, I struggle with that. It's really tough.
And then I'm going to talk about the bill.
Right.
So I'm going to talk about how it's going to change the budget for 2020.
We can like pass out the bills since we have more copies than we need, I guess.
Yeah. And then anyone else who wants to look at them. In the presentation, we also want to talk a little bit about like our timeline for the Tri-State Water Wars.
Yeah.
So we have all of that.
I could kind of like at the beginning, kind of like contextualize, what it is and how it's affecting everything.
Okay, so you're going to start like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go into the bill. And then Angelina and Ashelle, you're going to go into the visual concept.
Okay, and I'll talk about the dam breaking, the model, and then she'll talk about Google Earth.
Okay.
That should span 2 minutes. A lot of information.
Yeah. It's a big topic. We have an intense breakdown of the history of the Tri-State Water Wars with the background. Yeah, that is the timeline. And then we have all of our sources.
So this is like the general idea of how floods happen in Winnipeg and like how they're known for their agricultural industry. And like,
So should I say something about, why is that not, okay. About like the floodplain causing it and
Yeah,
like the ice
water.
caps?
Yeah, the ice cap. Yeah, that's a good note to put in.
Okay.
That and maybe talk about like the watershed, the surrounding area, and how it affects the river. I guess if you did any research on that.
Okay, so
Has caused rise in the water levels in the watershed.
So we have most of our information down
Right.
for the background and what we plan to do, but
Okay.
for our solution, so we've 3D modeled the dam.
Okay.
We also need to,
That's really
I guess, yeah.
So what I suggest is always go simpler. Always go simpler. So for example, Unity, what you can do is just download the character package, drop in a first-person character, and you attach a camera to it and you walk through. Don't be perfectionists on me, all right? You're learning some stuff. The Unity software is tricky, but you're good. Nice site too. Looks really good.
Thank you.
Knowing that the project is still in progress, I'm really hoping that we can get some more leverage onto what we should do better for when the final presentations come up.
Here's the general rhythm that we'd like for the presentations. You got about 2 minutes to present. You're gonna screw up. It's not gonna be perfect, right? And so then they're gonna have a couple minutes to just give you, and you don't all have to, but if you have some point you thought a good strong point, but also a point, a critique, a suggestion. All right, and so you guys are gonna have a couple minutes to just hear some critique, suggestion. Remember, this is a practice, right? And so about 2 minutes. You ready? Go.
So what our project is we decided to take an analysis of the Tri-State Water Wars involving the states of Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. And basically the conflict that this is centralized around is Georgia has been taking water and increasing amounts of water to sustain their rapidly growing population. And this has been negatively affecting Alabama's nuclear power plants and Florida's marine populations. And different legal advances have been taken and actions have been taken throughout the course of the century. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to model the Tri-State Water Wars through political, that's what I'm holding right now, a bill, and also 3D modeling and some other biological effects that these water wars have had throughout the 3 states. And I'll let Lexi talk to you more about the bill.
Okay, so this is an appropriations bill, which is basically an amendment to the Georgia state budget.
Yes.
So this involves the fiscal year for 2020. So basically that starts on June 1st of 2018 and ends on, 2019 and ends on June 30th of 2020. So this is basically saying where we can put water conservation methods like low flow retrofitting and leak detection into certain areas where water can be allocated. Like it specifically says on page 2 of the bill right now, it says under like other funds, it'll say like not specifically identified. And so that's areas where we can put water conservation methods into use.
We have 2 visual concepts, and the first one is going to be a visual of the dam. the Beaufort Dam, it'll show the dam breaking and what the effect will be on Lake Lanier and other areas around it.
Our second visual representation we'll be using Google Earth Pro, and we'll show the 4 locations that would be affected, like the Farley nuclear power plant and the Apalachicola Bay and River in Florida, and also as well as Lake Lanier and Beaufort Dam.
And yeah, so that's how we're modeling these different effects that the Tri-State Water Wars have had, both politically and through civil engineering aspects. As you can see here, these different maps are showing you, how nuclear power is affected, how geographically, what it really does. So that's what we are doing. That's kind of like the scope of our project.
Great, awesome. A compliment or a suggestion?
And from a civil engineering standpoint, I believe there is probably a model, they call it a dam break analysis, that you have to do on major Category 1 dams, which that would be a Category 1. So there may be some information out there that you can research to find that out. But
would that be done when they first build the dam? So part of the original?
Yeah, on a dam of that size, and a Category 1 is basically if there's a potential for loss of life downstream of the dam.
Okay.
So if that did fail, what's downstream of it, what would be impacted? So they'd have to do a major study on that now.
Great.
So I'm Natasha,
I'm Ian.
My name is Ismail Oramis.
and our project is what would happen if the Beaufort Dam were to break, and what type of dam would be better for the environment and for our community.
So we have made a dam that'll cover the area of Lake Lanier, that'll cover where the Beaufort Dam was, that would have a walking bridge for pedestrians along with a travel bridge, and would also include some information such as like agricultural resources. In order to demonstrate our solution of the dam, we used a virtual reality simulator. And with this, we have a simulation that'll show different scenes that will state whether or not it's when the flood happens, and then it'll show the dam, how it'll affect the water and affect the lake.
We have 4 scenes in total, 2 that have the current, that show what it looks like with the current Beaufort Dam. So one without the flood and one with, and then one with the new dam that we've personally constructed in a 3D modeling software. One with the new dam without the flood, one with the new dam with the flood. And let us get Mr. Trump to try out the virtual reality headset.
We found out that the water puts an amount of pressure of 105,000 kilopascals on the dam, and we used that to build the right size dam that would support that weight, and then decided we would put it into an Oculus Rift that would demonstrate how the flood would take place and how the dam would stop the water from coming through.
This is how it would look like if the current Lake Lanier was flooded. Here we have the new dam. Can you look back at it? Yeah, this is the new dam that we have designed. We had to extend it for so that it was able to actually attach itself to the map. So that is one bug we are currently having. Using the simulation, you can replicate it almost exactly, and for ours, we chose a flood, and we have a pretty accurate representation of it.
Just quickly, just my feedback, you're so far the best of using some of the terrain terminology, when you're talking about the non-point versus pinpoint pollution, things like that, so I saw you really reach for that. We're going to transition some groups up, but any input from you folks?
One thing I would say on a technical side with Lake Lanier is that the treatment facility, the Wayne Hill treatment facility at the Mall of Georgia, they pump into the lake. So that may be something to think about in if the dam breaks, what's going to happen with that, if you have a replacement dam.
And with that, I would say, there's ways that we can connect you with the people who help run that plan, so you can talk to them directly and not have to try to find this sort of information on your own online. There are ways to connect to people here locally in the community.
And for all groups, have everybody read your other stuff. For example, there's a technical thing in there. So you said it has a 1071 foot depth. No, it doesn't. It has a 1071 altitude for full pool. Its depth is approximately 120 to 150 in range. So just that's a lot of a difference of water. Cool. Okay. Awesome. Golf clap. Bravo.
I'm Veronica.
I'm Joy.
I'm Tebow.
And we're examining the effects of flooding and pollution on Lake Winnipeg. Okay, can you go to floods?
So this picture shows that the notable floods in the past 200 years, and 4 of them were in the 1800s, but then in the 1990s there was also 4.
There's an input river into Lake Winnipeg called the Red River, and it floods almost yearly, and we're looking at how to build a canal and divert some of the flow of the water. So another thing that happens with this increase in flow of water is an increase in movement of phosphorus and nitrogen. So this is causing a massive increase in cyanobacteria, which is causing the water to turn green, and it's also reducing the levels of oxygen available in the water, which is killing off the fish. And Lake Winnipeg, known for its fish industry and their agricultural industry, is really suffering because of this.
So the solution that we came up with would be, the new modeled a dam that would be placed somewhere along the banks of the Red River, so that way it would divert the water away and would also clean it, or using a filtration system. So the way the filtration system works is it goes from the biggest particles to the smallest particles. So it would remove like the junk from like nature and stuff. And then it would also remove the cyanobacteria at the finest stage.
Just thinking about, like, you're talking about diverting water, where, and stuff like that, and yeah, like, where does it go, how does it get there? It basically kind of creating like an overflow valve, right, I would assume, is maybe the ambition. So maybe there's more a holding cell, like retention function there, I don't know.
Just think of the scale, the size of your dam, and I spoke to you earlier about, you would need to have several different components to it so that you could have maintenance while one is being, one's in use, one's being maintained. You may need multiple.
Bravo, thank you. How does it feel? Forget about the content. How did it feel?
Freaking out.
Yeah, was it stressful?
Very much so.
Yeah, what about you?
I felt like we did good for what we did because we didn't prep up as much as we could have.
Okay. That's fine. How about you?
I feel like we definitely have work to do on the content and the mathematics, but overall we did pretty well.
Okay. I'm glad it's stressful. I mean, it's like that whole workout adage, whatever it's called, no pain, no gain. So if it's stressful now, it's going to be easier and easier later. So good. Congratulations, you got up there. That's awesome. Just related to you, the tech, how did that go?
It was much better than we were expecting, as we were preparing, the firewall was blocking it or something like that, and somehow we got onto it.
Good.
We were able to use it.
Good. So you learned that you got to test your tech in the place that you're using it. That's always helpful. Your favorite aspect of the presentation and your worst aspect of your presentation?
Seeing how entranced people looked by our project, because it looked like people were actually interested in what we had to say, and that feels like a new one for me.
It's cool. Oh, that's awesome. What about you guys? Anything else with that?
I liked how we got the judges involved instead of just like them grading silently. We got one of them involved, and they really seemed to like it.
Yeah, that's cool. You kind of see it on TV too, like in pop culture, like, hey, bring up the judge and involve the judge. So it's a great thing.
Yay, we're TV stars.
I really liked the feedback we got at the end and what we needed to improve.
Yeah, in fact, I don't know if you were there, but one of the judges said the fact that you are giving somebody a virtual reality demonstration of what you're doing is kind of cutting edge stuff that they're kind of just seeing at Georgia Tech. So that the fact that you're pushing the envelope years before most people actually do, take a lot of pride in that. Don't ever worry about the imperfection of the presentation. You will have an imperfection. Guarantee you, every presentation you ever get from now on, you're going to have an imperfection. Just don't let it get you.
Like, we really need to work on the presentation, because like we stuttered a lot and
It's
we were
practice.
jumping
It's
around.
always practice. You don't just spontaneously do it. Trust me. After 20 years or so, I almost can teach well.
Yeah, I agree with what Ian said, because I feel like in our presentation we studied and it wasn't understandable to everyone in the audience.
Okay. Give me one feedback, though, that one of the judges told you that you should do. Do you remember it?
Yeah. One thing we need to work on is have proper mathematics and science to back up our research and our simulation. As of right now, we just got what we got for the internet instead of relying on like equations to calculate the force exerted onto the dam.
Good.
Yeah, and also we put the altitude from sea level instead of the actual depth.
And that was just one word. That's all it is one word. So, excellent stuff. I mean, you impressed people. But it's not about that. You know, it's just you were impressive is what it's about.
I think we did really well as a group. We did kind of miss the historical background, but so we could probably go over that when we're doing it, and we still need to make sure we're in that interval, because I think we were on the better end of groups on the time limit, but we were still like 30, 45 seconds over the time limit, so we could probably shorten that a little.
Yeah, and then we can also do the environmental impact study on Lake Lanier as well.
Yeah.
Going into a little more research on that as well.
Right, yeah.
And then we also need to finish the bill, so that won't be hard though. We just have to add more details.
Litigation stuff to add it there. We need the bill. We finished a 3D modeling?
No, not yet.
Yeah, we finished that too.
I'm just thinking, will we have more time when we do the actual projects? Because I feel like if it's just 2 minutes, we won't have enough time to show the 3D modeling in the Google Earth Pro.
That's a good question. I don't know. But I think we should assume that we only have 2 minutes, just so that we can try and get as much of the big picture stuff as we can into our presentation.
So sorry for me jumping in. So one, you did great. I love your differentiation on this. Most people don't go after a legal bill. Most people do a waterfall, right? I thought I can tell you they were impressed. They were even talking after you left about your thoroughness of preparation. So don't be stressed about being perfect. Right, you've already got a good pitch, and bills come in draft form all the time. I do like your question, Michelle, about the time. You do have to balance your time, because if you actually meet a politician, you might have 30 seconds. So know your priorities, and if they ask questions, be ready to lead with those questions with those types of, hey, well, we have a 3D model to show you. So you might not be able to go through it thoroughly. But practice that 2 minutes, and I mean that literally, like with your jaws moving and standing, because it's motor control, motor memory for this pitch, for this presentation. Good. Practice, practice, practice. Great dynamic. Awesome.
Thanks.
What did you think?
I think that we could have prepared better for
Definitely.
it. Yeah.
Sure. You always could. You always could. But did you get your biggest details across or not? What do you think? Did you miss your biggest points or just your biggest points?
I think we didn't necessarily hit them. We more like brushed upon them, kind of.
If you could tell me, what's the biggest 3 things, maybe 4 things? Don't look at anything that you wanted me to walk away from this. What would they be?
Thinking like the history of it. So like since the Red River flooded, like barely in the 1800s, and then all of a sudden in the late 1900s there was like a boom, and it was insanely like terrible.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should probably bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, statistical math things that are significant are important. I think you covered all those things well. In fact, I love to read these slides as people go, and there's actually, I think, a little bit more science that you didn't even talk about. But I can tell you after you left, they continued to talk a little bit about you went after science much more than most groups. Keep it simple. This slide with the color charts, that had a lot of words. I would pare some things down.
Okay.
And knowing you folks, you want to do great. You want to get it right? But sometimes that can lead to stress about getting it too right, which then makes you feel awkward. Chill. Just human beings sitting up there talking about a topic. So be easier on yourself. Enjoy your time with these other human beings. These are people with families and lives too, so we're chatting. So be easy on yourself. I admire your push, but be easier on yourself.
based on what we want to do in our future, and it's all based on your interests, and I think that's amazing.
It gives me an outlet to show what I want to do as a college student, as an adult in the future for a career.
I got real life applications for like skills and all sorts of skill sets for every day, like for jobs I want in the future. I'm actually gathering information that I'm really passionate about.
We're given real life scenarios and told to do what we can or do what we do best. And what I do best is computers. So with this project-based learning, I'm able to not only hone my skills, I'm also able to apply it to real life situations.
Project-based learning lets you take lead, and it really helps with those leadership skills that you're going to need in the future. It also helps you to collaborate with people and pick out the things that you really need to make something come together.
Really, this course has been beneficial to me throughout the scope of CDAT because it's built this really beneficial programming mindset within me. It allows me to adapt, and even though we switch from all of these programs, having these skills and these mindsets, build a sense of adaptability within you. So that's really fundamental for a group member to have.